Well, if at first you don't succeed, make a third one to piss off the internet.
Are you sure this is going to work?
To Boldly Flee follows up on the ending of Suburban Nights. The nostalgia critic is haunted by the death of Marty, who is no longer with Channel Awesome, so we're left with a deleted scene from the last film and some actually impressive voiceover impressions.
I am the beginning, the end, the intermission.
It turns out that Marty's spirit lives on in space in a bizarre anomaly known as the plot hole.
Really?
Meanwhile, the critic is also targeted by Tao from Battlefield Earth, played by Noah Antweiler, and General Zod from Superman, played also by Doug Walker, all because he made fun of the former's movie. This ruckus leads to the entirety of Channel Awesome coming together one final time to save the world from the plot hole destroying everything in sight. But at what cost, Doug? At what cost? Look at the abuse that these people had to go through.
Beautiful lady!
Red egg.
I heard it too. Nice.
What the hell's going on down there?
Look away!
No, it's okay.
No.
I'm still here.
Oh my god.
Alright, it's okay.
Then you fade.
That's why you're jealous.
Gotta say, that's a little creepy.
Okay. This time. What the hell was that? 1, 2.
That's what it's good cause for, especially around the mouth.
And just generally being treated as completely inadequate and not well respected at all.
And everybody was a trooper, and thank you, and I'm sorry.
It's hard watching the people go through that, and just God bless them, they work so hard.
Met Brad and hung out with him and talked with him, and he was awesome, and yeah, everybody was really cool. So
The thing I always take out of them is that I'm so thankful for these people to be as dedicated as they are, and to put up with the madness that I make them go through. And I'll never not be thankful for that. I'll never not be thankful for, you know, what these people go through and how hard they work. Everybody, in front, behind the scenes, I mean, just everybody.
They really had a difficult time, and none of them enjoyed the production.
I don't know if you want this for the behind the scenes thing, but I thought I would just add, you know, that it was a great production to be a part of. It was a lot of fun to be part of this and Suburban Nights. I hope that future projects are in the works and that, you know, all of us get to work together again.
I love being a part of these things and hanging out with everybody, so yeah, sure, I would be happy to be in another project, absolutely.
I love being a part of this site, a part of these productions, and it truly is really the highlight of this year and last year.
They subjected these poor people to horrible ordeals. But they were also very, very strict when it came to the filming schedule.
At least for the first half, a little more than half of the shooting schedule, it went a lot smoother than Suburban Nights. But it was also a lot more work.
Really what happened this time was there was just so much more to do than what was in Suburban Nights.
The problem is it's still a 3-hour movie shot in 6 days.
Especially this!
It's getting bigger!
That's what she said.
Oh, dick!
We're already behind schedule.
Super. Okay, are we quiet? Are we
I
quiet?
told him to do it.
When will the abuse end? Asking actors on a film set to keep on schedule? Pieces of shit!
Why, critic?
Okay, jokes aside, 6 years after the release of the movie, a bunch of the cast came forward to file grievances towards Channel Awesome regarding their business practices and their treatment on set, claiming to have been unprofessional and borderline abusive. So much so, Erod stole jokes from it.
What do I review, Pa?
Lamps? Nobody reviews lamps like you do, pal.
And Linkara made a direct sequel himself, and even begged Channel Awesome to continue making anniversary specials.
That's outrageous!
Ed Glazer himself tried to get his own credit removed from the film, claiming that Doug and his brother Rob violated the 180 rule in cinematography, and it caused a huge argument, to the point he vowed to never work with them again. Though it won't stop him coming back next year. Though I do sympathise with them, those bastards. Next, they'll probably do some poor dubbing. When will the abuse end?
Inconceivable!
Brad Jones himself, who again reprised his role as the cinema snob, found it difficult filming inside a Darth Vader helmet as he was severely claustrophobic. And Tony Goldmark, who plays some jerk with a camera on the site a few years afterwards, wanted to poke fun at the bad production in the 10th anniversary movie that never actually got made, so it was scrapped. Brad Jones had to take time away from shooting his first cinema snob film for this, even telling us how he made it.
There is one secret to making any low-budget film tolerable.
Clever writing.
Tits.
But there was even controversy before its release, as Noah Antweiler made a comment about rape to a female on Twitter and received heavy backlash, ultimately leading to him parting ways with Channel Awesome prior to Boldly Flee's release, though he would later reconcile with them in a few crossovers before vanishing from the internet, other than a few appearances here or there. And again, it is a real shame as he was such a great talent. To Boldly Flee was released online on October the 20th, 2012, sporadically in parts, and it was actually a huge hit. And again, all these Gen Zs coming out saying no one 180'd, the reviews were mixed. I was there. We went nuts over this. Comments were insane. We were like, holy shit, this actually looks like a real movie. This is so much better than the previous ones. We fucking loved this. The movie came out during the Soper Act debacle, which nearly destroyed YouTube and content creators as a whole, which was even incorporated into a great deal of the script.
I demand justice! These internet reviewers clearly have too much power!
You really think our time's at its end?
The world is changing, kid. The internet is changing.
Ah yes, the Stop the Unstoppable Copyright Killers Act.
It was a huge deal that this movie marked the big finale of the nostalgia critic character. Until he brought him back 6 months later, but that's besides the point. Everyone went nuts over this in 2012. The runtime wasn't an issue at the time. It was only when Change the Channel happened 6 years later that everyone completely 180'd, never think Doug Walker ever did or said is complete AIDS. However, when it went on Letterboxd, it was actually one of the lowest rated movies on the entire site, and often made it into the bottom 100 films list. Furthermore, a great deal of the cast weren't even aware that Doug was deciding to end his nostalgia critic character until they received the script. But they were unhappy as the movie seemed to make it look like they were all retiring.
What happens in the story?
Then the world created for you, and all the people in it, will disappear.
And that they would all be nothing without Doug.
It's like a house of cards. You take one out, the entire thing falls apart.
Well, yeah. And I mean, once he retired the character, all of their views diminished and Doug's new show even tanked, so was he even wrong?
Thanks for sharing.
As explained, these came out before YouTube movies became the norm, and before the likes of The Sidemen or Mr. Beast were able to produce insanely high-budgeted content almost every single week, so it was still such a big deal. This one was still before the likes of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, the Snob movies, and was only the same year as Fred 3. The main consensus is that this film is far too long, sitting at 3.5 fucking hours. And to that I say, yeah, no shit. But I will admit, I do really like the setup for the plot. I do think it's a brilliant idea.
Where did you get that battle footage? Who filmed it? Why is it so well edited? When did Marty find the time to do this? There's no continuity. Things are starting to unravel, critic. I sense a disturbance in the plot.
We're dealing with a plot hole.
Jump cut. One of the many tools of the plot.
It also explains why Spoonie could transform into me and Kickassia, even though we're obviously two completely different people.
Because the needs of the plot outweighs the needs of the logic.
But for this low-budget YouTube movie based on an internet persona to be the same runtime as Return of the fucking King is just sadistic. There's a lot of the film that I do enjoy, and I do think works really well, but fuck me does it drag. There's a ton of unnecessary scenes or jokes that are just put in to pad out time.
I vow that I will fight!
This vow is brought to you by Enerjoda. It's not an energy drink, it's not a soda, it's Enerjoda.
Did you just place a commercial over my dramatic speech?
Cutbacks. The government sometimes gets extra money through our advertisements.
Well, how many times is that gonna happen?
This question is brought to you by Energy Chips.
That being said, I think the reason it was so well received when it first came out was how it was released. So, history lesson, kids, gather round! Kick-Assia was released daily for the duration of a week in parts, and the same format was done with Suburban Nights. There was no Nostalgia Critic episode that week, it was just the movies plus the regular videos that the other producers were making at the time. Well, To Boldly Flee is like 89 weeks long, so they didn't want to clog up the website's traffic and divert away from the other producers' work. So instead, they posted every other day for the course of 2 weeks. So this means even though part 1 is like 40 minutes long, we'd see that on Monday, and then we wouldn't see part 2 until Wednesday. So when the film was broken up like that, it didn't seem overkill at the time. When you watch it all in quick succession, however, then it's a different story. The movie could have been 2 hours easily. I may even allow 2.5, but yeah, this is just sheer overkill. That being said, the opening credits are pretty sick. Before Doug makes some humorous comments about other producers, which really haven't aged very well.
The critics have returned to their jobs, and for them, life goes on.
You wish. Speaking of which, there's even more dated jokes such as the nostalgia chick dating Todd in the shadows.
I swear to God, if you call again, I'm getting a restraining order.
And don't worry, if you don't get the joke, they will spell it out for you.
Can you imagine if you ever did date her?
Yeah, in what parallel universe would that happen?
As well as...
I know I've made some mistakes in the past. Thousands. And sometimes I've led you into danger.
Always. Bask in their shimmering hormones.
And enjoy a topless sexual predator in your movie before Doug Walker talks to Marty and every member of Change the Channel wishes so desperately that he was talking to them.
I'm sorry. Alright, I'm sorry for everything I did.
Okay, I'm done.
You ever wonder what it's like to be forgotten, to be cast aside?
Almost all of the Change the Channel crew. Okay, now I'm done. Again, the ridiculousness of the plot really adds to the charm, how everything is delivered so straight when it's literally Turl suing the critic for making fun of his movie. The film also has a very weird fetish for fast-talking comedy. You know, back and forth conversation with quick succession just to get a few laughs.
That was a weird request in his will.
Which you wrote.
He would have wanted it that way.
After his death.
As I had to.
In his blood.
Well, if you had a pen.
They're those three-eyed things.
That's a Grob.
Pancake face?
Celestin.
Not a treble.
That's Star Trek, you fool.
Kind of got themselves arrested.
By assaulting a federal agent.
And a cop.
Whom they stole his gun from.
And used it against him.
To steal a squad car.
In exchange for...
an ice cream truck.
And hightailed for Tijuana.
Where they were picked up by the Mexican federales.
Dressed as nuns.
I don't understand why I have to wear this mask.
To hide your hideously deformed face.
I still don't get that.
You were burned.
After you threw coffee in my face.
To get rid of that mosquito.
Which I didn't see.
But I did.
And couldn't find.
Because he drowned in coffee.
But
you
only
got
half
of
it.
And dick jokes.
Saxophone-shaped penis.
Penis?
That wiener of yours.
No, his penis.
Ask Sage about his wiener.
Not his penis.
Penis?
Tell him about Sage's wiener.
It has the exact same number of letters as the word penis.
Penis? You want to do what to my banana?
A powerful dick you will become.
You mean penis?
And butt jokes.
Okay, there is no way I am reaching for your hole.
There is a great disturbance in the hole.
Please say no more about your coming hole.
But at least they're self-aware and take the piss out of themselves.
So they tune into these bozos who put on scatological rants filled with pop culture references.
They're not smart, they're just a pile of pop culture referencing peons.
Hello! I'm a compilation of high-pitched screaming and in-jokes that go on too long!
Maybe Linkara should try this.
Wait, no! God damn it!
Now, don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of the comedy.
Soon the critics will be crushed and the spoony one will be one of us.
Wait, that's totally my line.
What?
We're doing Jedi now, right?
All hope now lies with him.
But I can't with the...
No, I'm just kidding. I'm still here.
Look, everybody! I built a thermo detonator!
Oh, goody! Let's play!
Go on, Bennett!
Excuse me, which one of you is the tactical weapons officer?
Push the buttons up here, the red ones. Maybe they do something.
That just blew up Venus. Fuck, they're gonna miss that.
Let it flow mindlessly through you like a YouTube commenter.
Sure, if you jumped in 1 second earlier, you could have pushed him out of the way. And I'm not gonna lie, but we would have preferred if you were taken instead of him. But hey, at least you're here safe and sound whilst he's probably being tortured to death. You can take comfort in that, right?
God, you're horrible at this!
He did try to kill me. Then again, he does have a damn good dental plan.
But I don't want to live in a giant mistake.
Well, tough shit. Nothing's perfect, kid.
What are you doing? What? Stop that. This is really embarrassing for you. It's not like you could lift me, you're like 5 foot nothing.
And they do still continue their lazy and forced ways to progress the plot, which does still make me laugh.
Hey! Cara! Nostalgia chick! Are you doing anything suspicious or evil in there?
Soon our evil and suspicious plans will be complete.
I will do whatever you ask.
Ready? Wow. That went much faster than I expected.
I have a real impulse control problem.
I totally duped that robotic moron. He thinks I'm actually going to give him the secrets of that power glove, even though it's totally useless.
I mean, Zod and Tel pretend to be Oprah and threaten them, and they still lower their shields. It's so ridiculous, but kind of funny.
You wanna mess with the queen of daytime talk?
But then there's a shit ton of painfully unfunny jokes that just don't work.
Oh, I can't turn it on. Someone call the IT guy. I know I can't turn it on. No, really, I don't know where the on button is. Really. Really.
Have you ever tried to unplug a fire hose when it's still attached to the hydrant?
Your name is Ferdinand?
Yes, it's a proud name. One that commands respect. Maybe in a flower shop. Shut up! Oh, could you help me with my bouquet, Ferdinand? Shut up!
It's his revenge for all those impressions I did of him. Those were terrible impressions. Shut up. You shut up! Shut up!
But hey, it took 3 attempts, but Felis is actually funny in this one.
Now that I got that stupid horror review out of the way, I can get back to what I normally work on. The cure for cancer. Almost done, but if I get interrupted, I'm never finishing. Oh, but I can still cut your foot off, right? Full impulse. Shields at maximum. And shake that camera more for dramatic effect.
There's a scene where he gets stabbed but keeps surviving and they let the guy just improvise. And yeah, it's dragged out, but I don't care. It's fucking hilarious. Drag it out more.
Yeah, I'm dead. Go away. I shouldn't have said that, should I?
Throughout the film, we also get this weird slow-mo zoom in on a camera lens because Doug thinks that he's clever. It's just weird though, when you watch it for the first time, you have no idea what the hell it's supposed to mean. It's not artsy, it's silly. There are some overdone jokes.
Greetings, you pathetic pile of man animal.
Mom? First, there is urgent business I must take care of.
But they still work and make me laugh because I'm clearly a child.
Since we started the Space Research Committee, we have had one goal in our minds.
Learn how to fucking act! Yeah, the acting's somewhat improved in this one, but there's still a lot of horrific reads.
The gravitational pull has to be stupendous.
Sage! Luke, what are you doing here?
I want you to try to remember what happened when you entered the critic's house.
No.
All of the crew is on the bridge. They're making their move. We have to do something.
What are we gonna do?
Why would you do this? It is illogical.
But after 3 movies, Mars Girl is still the worst. Jesus Christ, she needs to be studied. How do you star in 3 movies back to back and make videos constantly and are still shit?
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
What are you doing here?
Executor has made a critical error, and the time for our attack has come.
From who?
More guards are coming!
Christ, she delivers almost every line with a fucking smile! How much more practice do you need?
Actually, that's Europa, and Jupiter is behind it. You did go to school, right?
No, but you clearly avoided acting classes.
So their technical weapons officer
can only fire the weapons.
And nobody else can.
Jesus Christ, how is this possible? Nobody decided to take her to one side and be like, hey, Kaylin, you weren't very good in the last 2. Maybe sit this one out.
Phaelus, suggestions?
Acting classes, perhaps?
Transfer all our auxiliary power to laser cannons. Luke, get me an update on those torpedoes. Phaelus!
Find out why I was picked up by Channel Awesome in the first place. I mean, in this scene, they're being threatened by Linkara's evil robot double Mechakara, and what the hell is she even doing in this shot? What the hell is she even doing? Just act! Your lives are being threatened, for fuck's sake! Why does she keep zoning out during a scene?
Will suffice until I see you in your day in court.
Yeah, and when's that?
Last I looked, 20 years.
So around the time E-Rob will finally get invited to one of these. In fact, he actually is in this for about 5 seconds. And in a 3.5-hour movie, he's still one of the worst parts of it.
Oh my god, in Spider-Man 3 when the butler comes out of nowhere?
How is that even possible? How do you mess that up? The movie does actually get quite creepy as the critic hears Marty's voice for the first time, and I will admit Noah's acting is pretty damn good as he gets possessed by the guy. And it does get super creepy as Marty types on the machine through Spoonie, and when he types directly to the critic. And Spoonie starts to hyperventilate as he's completely taken over. It's really, really creepy. And then, just try to wrap your mind around this broad stroke of genius in writing and acting, but Linkara gets triggered when someone doesn't watch his videos.
You have watched my videos, right, Pa?
Of course I do.
But it's not very difficult to play. Spot the Virgin!
It's my psychotic robot double! Dude, those aren't skits, that actually happens to me!
What?
I am regularly attacked by mad scientists, my own doppelgangers, and monster gods from other dimensions!
Do you say these things out loud? Do you watch this over and you think, yes, I'll post that? In the original script, apparently Doug had Mechakara sound like a generic robot, and Lewis had to go and tweak all of his lines because he was super protective of the character. He also felt like Mechakara wouldn't pretend to be one of the crewmates, but would instantly murder them all instead. Have you tried having sex, Lewis? And not with a food item.
Candy Graham. Ha! Must be from another admiring fan.
You're Linkara. I mean, he leaves the green screen on his monitor in the background, and then he leaves trash bags all over the floor. Yeah, he pulled out all the stops in this one. But Doug was the unprofessional filmmaker. He can't even insult himself and make it funny.
Yeah, don't take me outside or else my skin might sparkle!
Rob Walker plays an Emperor Palpatine knockoff known as the Executor, and I will admit, he really pulls off the voice perfectly. And the makeup is pretty damn good. The movie basically references everything from Star Wars to X-Men to Scooby-Doo.
I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you pesky kids.
Tommy Wiseau.
Game of Thrones.
Transformers Day!
Darren from Bewitched, Becky from Roseanne, Doctor Who, James Bond, Clarice, Dumbledore,
Rebecca Black.
Movie Bowl.
Mickey's watching My Little Pony?
Some films are worth fighting for.
And whose line is it anyway?
That wasn't exactly Citizen Kane, kid.
To Ghostbusters.
Yeah, shut this all off.
To Men in Black, Mario, Superman.
Oh dear, he's foreign. Hello, Neil!
Such a shit joke, I love it. To E.T., to Star Trek.
The guys in the red shirts, they tend
to be captain, yeah.
William Shakespeare.
For whether 'tis nobler in the mind.
And someone give me the complete works of Shakespeare!
To Judge Dredd, to Aliens, to Dragon Ball Z, and in case you didn't recognise it,
Back off, Dragon Ball Z!
Doug and Lindsay do a pretty good job in the movie throughout the whole journey. The critic basically wants to go and make a difference, which is admittedly really cheesy, but it works, and Doug does deliver the dramatic moments really well too. Before the best scene of the film, because Lindsay Ellis prank calls Alison Pregler.
And so, as the head of the FAA, we would like for you to please stop dyeing your head that horrible red.
Even if Alison is clearly reading her lines off of the script.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Secretary. And so long as we're talking about airspace, you might want to put Nostalgia Chick on your maps.
Why did Doug get successful and we didn't? Can these people do anything right? Admittedly, she is pretty funny in this.
I'm madly in love with you.
No.
The plot holes are released to the world in a forced Ghostbusters reference, leading to a barrage of cameos from... no idea who that is. Oh, there's D. Amanda Hagen, the rap critic, Handsome Tom and Suede, who I guess couldn't be asked to fly out this time. But why would the critic beam in Mechakara and not the real Linkara? How does this system work? Maybe just beamed in the machine that's about as robotic as the real actor. But it is a pretty cool way for all of them to meet up again for the first time in the film. There's also this French guy who is apparently called Sad Panda, I have no idea, but he is awful. He shows no emotion at any point throughout the entire film.
What does any of this have to do with Matty and Spoonie?
Young brain, you look like you heard two people having sex.
Actually, I just said I watched Doctor Who a lot.
Sir, Phaelus is...
thankfully dead. Juno was overrated. Some of us hoped we never see you again. 12,000 volts of electricity rushing through your motor cortex. Very! That's nice.
Do you know any fucking emotion, man?
And if the word goes down to bidet, there will be no one left to watch our reviews.
Then we can't start a movement based on jealousy for our own complete failures.
Yeah! And then we won't get paid.
You never did.
Yeah!
One weird criticism the film got was just how stupid the characters are. Throughout the whole movie, nobody suspects that Mecha isn't the real Linkara, and it just doesn't make any sense. But that's quite literally the joke. I mean, I'll rip on these movies for spelling out jokes, but then clearly they need to, because people who are watching these don't get obvious jokes.
Well, that's why we wouldn't notice all the painfully obvious inconsistencies around us. Isn't that right, Linkara? Indeed.
That looks suspicious to you.
Oh, no, he always wears that brown hat. You three, have you noticed any suspicious behavior around here? No.
No.
None whatsoever. There now, you see, I told you you were paranoid.
For all of the problems that these movies have, stop coming up with ones that make no sense. There's a really weird subplot that I have no idea. Maybe it was explained in their videos, but I only watched Lindsay, so I have no idea. But she's in love with Todd, but he's in love with Allison.
You saved my life. I think that's worth one date.
Just so long as you don't have a kid, because then I'll have to file a complaint against them to my landlord. But the weird thing is, Lindsay spends the majority of the film stalking and even sexually harassing Todd, even when he tries to stop her. You know, it's weird that a supposed rape scene got criticism, but this doesn't. She just stalks him for the entire movie. Granted, Todd stalks Allison, but imagine if he was rubbing his hands all over her body without her consent. I'm starting to think Change the Channel's filled with hypocrites, you know? And it literally goes nowhere. Yeah, he reveals his face to save Allison. Lindsay is no longer interested, but then Allison gives him a chance and that's it! And then later we get an obvious joke of her and Phaelus hooking up. Yeah, best of fucking luck, mate. Speaking of which, I do think they looked far too much into the rape scene. In the original script, we would have heard Lindsay exclaim shit like, "Oh, you're so hard," and Film Brain overhears what he thinks is sex, so I guess it is a rape scene? I mean, sometimes that can be funny. Are we forgetting shows like Monty Python or South Park or Family Guy, who very often get laughs out of terrorism, racism, rape? Nothing should be off limits, so I can understand actually getting humour out of something like this. The issue is, without those lines in the film implying sex, the scene doesn't work. Film Brain still walks over and hears random robotic noises and then still thinks that they're fucking. But we don't hear anything remotely sexual, and yet we get so many lines about it.
You look like you heard two people having sex.
Are they coming?
Well, that's a loaded question.
They were so doing it.
And that getting busy, keeping busy with heterosexual extracurricular activities.
I mean, in a clever way to avoid all of the production issues from the last movie, they turned Doug's house into a spaceship, which is pretty clever. And then the villains do the same thing with theirs to avoid paying for the expensive green screens. And again, we get obvious moments where Doug is just playing the voices of all of the extras.
Sir, the critic is no longer in Earth's atmosphere.
Oxygen disabled.
Hey, do we always have a human-sized box here? Hey, he spoke! None doesn't talk!
I can relate though with Doug having to play nearly everyone. Quite a clever move too, having the villains all wear masks so they can just repeat actors, which I'm guessing they did. Despite some unfunny moments, Spoonie does give it his all at points, and he and Doug do have some great chemistry as the bumbling duo. This guy, CR, is actually pretty good. Yeah, one filming gives a better performance than those who have been in all three. There's a really weird and unfunny subplot of Chiwario being obsessed with George Takei. Is it ever funny?
Loving your joystick.
Oh, that is so decay.
If not the naked now, what naked time?
Jisoo, who I've never heard of, gets electrocuted and becomes Edward? I don't know, it's someone from Cowboy Bebop, I've never seen it. So for the entire movie, I have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Why are we just focusing on one project when we could be working on several? Linkara was using the bandwidth all night long. I built a thermo detonator. OMG, WTF 9000. I also invented these. Power enhancing rocket boots. Edward doesn't need to watch Edward on TV.
I don't get it. Maybe it's funny, no it's not. I will say it's a pretty clever move to have every singular shot tell being on a Dutch angle. Luke and Brad get a random friendship in this to build up to the climax, but it strangely works. They do actually have some decent development.
I can't see.
It's probably because your eyes are closed.
Oh, hey!
For fuck's sake, it's such a shit joke and I laughed. But look, a change of focus. They finally learned filmmaking. Kind of. I mean, they're no Linkara, but they're getting there. To be fair, there is a whole lot more preparation and direction gone into this one, so it is a huge upgrade. It does somewhat resemble a movie, so progress, baby steps. I'm just saying, it's not Shawshank, but it's getting better. Weirdly, there's a scene that's about 7 weeks long of the critic accidentally being transported to the wrong location, but then gets sent outside. Now you're going to tell me that he got sent back to Earth, but they clearly say,
"You're outside the building, critic."
So how is he breathing in space? Then again, the movie literally incorporates a plot hole, so nothing has to make sense. It's brilliant. Also, there's a random masked spaceman throughout the whole film who just randomly appears to help the critic every now and then. And then the reveal is so anticlimactic, it's kind of brilliant.
That's right, it was me the whole time. Oh.
The film just works. Or it would if it wasn't 3.5 hours long. I guess they learned their restrictions and made most of the action scenes either in space or with guns, but occasionally there are hand-to-hand fights which are still shit, but they've significantly improved. Cinema Snob ends up getting kidnapped, and it turns out that Rob Walker is actually playing Will Walker from the movie Doctorful.
And so that gives you the right to shut down anyone who doesn't agree with you.
Before we see a cameo from Change the Channel.
Please, sir, may I have a paycheck?
I'm sorry, I've just got this notepad of Change the Channel jokes that I've built up for the past 5 years. I'm almost done. The movie also received a lot of criticism for essentially being just an ego trip for Doug Walker. And although I could see that, my question is, what did you expect? This is a movie based on an internet web series. It's always going to be a bit ego-driven. Furthermore, without Doug Walker, a lot of us wouldn't even be here doing what we do now. Say what you want about the guy, but he set the standards for movie reviews and did this in 2008 when nobody did. I'm just saying, I think that warrants just a little bit of an ego, and it doesn't take away what's said in the movie.
And what if that one single choice just falls down to one person?
Well, I can't think of a better person for it to fall upon than you. We need you! I need you! You're like a hero to me!
Oh, come on, Film Brain, I'm no hero.
Yes, you are! You're the best critic there is!
You were a character that I created for an online media show. I don't mean to brag, but it was a pretty big hit.
You gave us a voice, a place to call our own.
And how many Matees will it take? How many crappy laws were invented because of my bullshit?
And yeah, Spoonie in a Speedo is certainly not something I needed to see today.
Yeah, there's a back door.
Yeah, you'd know a lot about that, wouldn't you? There is a brilliant scene where the executor turns Snob to the dark side of the plot, spoofing Revenge of the Sith, and it's actually written so damn well, telling him how to make shit films to remain in infamy. See? Self-aware! Of course, the special effects are still cheesy as hell, but I will say they toned Film Brain down a lot in this one, which I was disappointed to see, but it allowed him more development with the critic, tested Matthew's acting range a bit more, but he does still get some hilarious moments.
Isn't there anyone else? I'm surprised Film Brain wasn't interested.
Well...
Will you calm down? I'm not trying to scare you. I want to inspire you to defeat the dots.
Own Citizen has a random cameo as Yoda because they got a bit more cash for another flight.
For every 24 Phantom Menaces, there is a Return of the King. For every 2-bit Shyamalan, a Stanley Kubrick is born.
For every Doug Walker, there's an angry cast off who wasn't nearly as successful. The film also keeps pointing out how Spoonie is essential to the plot hole, even though he hasn't been seen in the movie in like 90 minutes. Oh, there he is! There is a ridiculously catchy musical number which takes place during a big action scene, and yeah, I can't lie, it's a pretty good sequence. Best of luck getting this out of your head.
We're a distraction.
The critic finally enters the plot hole and finds the script for To Boldly Flee and finds Doug Walker the writer. You know, this was done before in the likes of Charlie Kaufman's adaptation, but it works. It's fine, it works for the YouTube style.
Every character has a purpose. If not, why would you write them?
I don't know, I've seen 3 of these now, and other than you, Film Brain, Snob, and Joe, I'm asking myself the same question. But oh, thank God, Robert De Niro's mentor Linkara has arrived! Now the movie is really gonna get into gear! This was such a big deal at the time of the critic leaving. I can't even stress enough, and I do love the ending. The heartfelt speech to Marty, this is really good stuff. Until he talks to Change the Channel again.
There's nothing more to hold on to. It's time to let go.
We're not gonna make it. Are we?
Well, I'm sure Doug will be fine, but I don't really like the rest of your chances. There is a pretty sweet moment where they need the plot hole to get bigger, so everyone recites a shit ton of movie inconsistencies, leading to a bunch of cameos from Cybercat, in between her telling suicidal people to stop making her look bad, Erod, Mike Jevons, and a bunch of nobodies I've never heard of. Oh look, I know him! That's Chester A. Bum! Still isn't funny though. And I can't lie, it does get quite emotional as they all prepare their goodbyes and start discussing their first ever reviews. Before the critic decides to sacrifice himself to save the day, which is pretty epic. And I do think it's quite a wholesome ending as everyone comes back together. And nobody seems to give a shit that the critic is dead. Yeah, accurate. Film Brain is the only one who actually gives a fuck before they again spell out their obvious movie reference. Stop doing that! And they were all never seen together again, except for a terrible not sequel audio drama in which they couldn't even get everyone back to do anyway. To boldly flee. Way too long. But not too bad. It has a lot of heart, some great ideas, but man, it needed a fucking edit job. It drags beyond belief, but ignoring that, it has some brilliant comedy, and I love the plot hole element of it. It makes for some great fourth wall breaking and nonsensical story arcs, and I think the majority of the acting is decent.
Transfer all our auxiliary powers to laser cannons!
The majority! Honestly, it's a shame that this didn't get trimmed down before the final cut, but you'll see the cinematic Venom cut this Saturday! But for me, I do think it's the best of the bunch so far, but honestly, is that really much of a consolation? And yet, they made another one.